dark later.
Yeah, we got about 200 people registered.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good.
It was last number I saw was 200. So
What's the breakdown of level of coach look like?
I'd say the sweet spot is probably 14, 15, but we've
Okay.
got everything from 9U. We got a bunch of high school coaches from the U.S., Nebraska, Iowa, Michigan, Kentucky, Ohio. Texas. We've got, I think, 3 or 4 of the Texas Rangers staff on here tonight. The minor league guys. Some of their minor league guys are on here. And there was another minor league. There were another 1 or 2 minor league guys who I don't remember. And then we have a couple of junior college guys from the U.S. And like I said, a bunch of high school coaches. So
Awesome.
So Chris, how's work for you going right?
Oh, it's pretty crazy. So teaching high school has been it's been a challenge because working everything online. We're doing regular class schedules, so it's Zoom meetings. 30 minutes or so each class period. It's tough on the kids too. Like they're trying to tune in and learn, and it's just hard to make it happen and have everyone feel comfortable and that, right? So, but it's been fun. It's been fun. Yeah, all things considering, it's about as good as it's going to get, I think. So
Yeah. When is school done for you guys?
we finish up early June, and so yeah, June 6th is when our kind of like end of year will be. But then, are we going to go a little bit late to sort of wrap things up, and what are we going to do for exams? And I think all these questions are still kind of up in air. So are your guys they finished their classes online, or are they still going, or what's the?
Yeah, everything's online now.
Yeah, that's been the big one. It's been trying to figure out, like, how do we have the integrity of the validity of the grade in the online space, right? So it's been.
Are they going to keep it the same, or are they doing a lot of schools are kind of going credit, no credit?
Our ministry's kind of dictated that they've said they're going to keep the grade, but like loosely there's been, some instruction not to really penalize folks in the last term, rather than sort of like keep it flat as it was, and people can improve along the way. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah. What has there been any talk of kind of summer ball starting to develop as as things get better, or what's the word there?
Yeah, Texas is probably one of the most progressive on opening things up. Starting Friday, restaurants and movie theaters and all that are opening up again. They said 25% capacity, so they're going to try to limit it. But that seems like a good sign for maybe getting some youth baseball in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And then college summer leagues, those have been kind of hit and miss. Like a couple of them canceled already. A few of them are saying July 1st. So hopefully some of the guys will be able to play.
I heard something. Did Cape Cod League is canceled for the year, and so it's okay. But do you think there's going to be some? I don't want to call them renegade leagues, or like side leagues, or leagues with not as much notoriety that choose to play have,
Oh yeah, and a couple of those, like the Northwoods League, where they really draw a lot of fans, and I think as soon as they're able to play, they will play.
Yeah. And it's more Midwest-ish then, right? That Northwoods League, so it's not
Minnesota,
as dense,
Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's where. Yeah, awesome. Hopefully everyone stays healthy. That's
yeah.
So.
Are there any college summer leagues near you guys?
There's a couple competitive leagues. So there's an inter-county league, which is kind of like a lot of kids now that go to college will stay down in the States and find a summer league down there, but the inter-county league's pretty competitive. A lot of former minor league guys, when they finish up, they'll play in that league for some time. I think out like west, so like Alberta, area, there's a few college summer leagues out that way. Yeah.
Thunder Bay is in the Northwoods League.
Right. Yeah. Thunder Bay's up there. That's like, it's in Ontario, but it's, Texas is pretty big. So Ontario's is, it's enormous, right? It's, probably 20, 30 hours to try to get there. It's crazy.
Yep.
What's your?
We had a guy a couple of years ago played for Edmonton, the Edmonton Prospects.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's called like the Western Minor Western League or something like that.
He also played for the Okotoks Dogs.
Okotoks, yeah.
Okotoks.
They've got a really they draw a nice crowd. There's some guys that I've coached against out in the Alberta there, and they coach in those teams, and they've got some really nice stadium.
Yeah.
Good crowds, good fun.
Yep. Yeah, he liked it. He said it was a real good experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the guys who was coaching in that organization, and he will coach their, I guess their collegiate team, 18U team, and their collegiate team. You may know him. He's now coaching with Sheets down at Gwinnett, Georgia Gwinnett. Alan Cox. He used to be at Kentucky, one of the colleges in Kentucky. Moved up here. I think he married a Canadian and moved up here, and was up in Alberta and Okotoks for many, many years. And Sheets convinced him to come back down and coach with them down in Georgia. So yeah, they have an awesome program. They have an exceptional program. The stadium is, and the facilities are really, really nice. A private businessman funded it, and he has put together a really first-rate program, great coaches, and in Western Canada, they attract a lot of players. A lot of the collegiate kids out that way go out there and play for one of those teams, and especially for the Okotoks team.
Huh. That's cool.
Everyone's trickling in, Dirk?
Yeah.
Awesome. Coach, what are your boys doing nowadays? Your sons?
Yep, just school at home, and we're still doing a lot of baseball stuff just together. So
yeah, nice.
That's the benefit of having several close in the same age. They can
totally.
We can still get some stuff done.
Playing home run derby with them, challenging them with you, or what?
Oh yeah, we have a lot of fun.
I bet. Oh, that's great. Okay, looks like everyone's rolling in here. So I didn't know until I read one of your bios or whatever that you worked with Ed at Creighton there. That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, he does a really good job.
Yeah. Was this what year is this now for you at Dallas Baptist? 10, 13, or is it?
I think this is my 13th as the head coach, and I was 3 years as an assistant before that.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll take that out of the intro there. I knew you were in the teens. I had to go look it up, actually.
Yep.
What's the recruiting like, given you got TCU and the Longhorns in your backyard, and you also got Baylor to contend with?
Yeah, we got everybody close by. Within 3 hours, we have TCU, Baylor, Texas A&M, Oklahoma. So there's a lot of them. Fortunately, baseball in the area is really good too. So there's a lot of players. But our thing's been, we can get a pretty high level of talent, but we're not usually going to beat them out in recruiting. But good thing about baseball is I think it's a late developing sport, and guys come here because they want to develop and they kind of have a chip on their shoulder. So that's kind of been our edge a little bit from the recruiting standpoint.
What's the typical timeline? I mean, it's going to vary, but how many years is it going to take a guy to earn a starting role? And you expect these guys to be. When do you expect them to be impact players for you typically?
We've had a pretty decent mix of high school and junior college players. Every year we've had a number of high school players that they play right away. And that's something that we want to, I think, to be a consistent program. You need guys coming in and be able to play early, and then just the consistency that gives your program of then a guy's going to be in the lineup for 3 to 4 years helps us be consistent year in and year out. But then the junior college players we've had some really good ones there as well. I don't know. I think baseball is a sport where you need to play. It's kind of you do the best job you can of trying to develop them in practice, but you got to get games reps. So, we try to recruit guys with the mindset of if they're not ready to play this year, then they need to be ready the next year.
Right. It's a bit of a recruiting edge for you, kind of convincing a player like, hey, you can be an immediate dude for us. Where if you go to somewhere, those other schools you were mentioning that have like the bigger programs that they might be riding the bench for a year or two or redshirted versus.
Yeah, we're probably not gonna recruit them if we didn't think they could play right away. So yeah. That's definitely a selling point to them.
Great.
You said you're losing 2 seniors, Coach?
Yeah, 2 of them. One was not really playing, so he's going to transfer to a Division II. He just wants to be able to play his last year. And then the other one was a 5th-year senior, so he's trying to decide, and he already had plans on a job, trying to decide if he's going to come back and play another year or just kind of continue with the plans he had. But we'll have 4 that are coming back for sure, which will be nice.
Cool. Okay, let's get this party started. Hey, good evening and welcome to the Baseball Ontario Around the Horn webinar tonight, featuring guest coach from Dallas Baptist University, Coach Dan Heefner. A special welcome to all the coaches from around Ontario, across Canada, from Nova Scotia to British Columbia. And again, an extremely, extremely warm welcome to all our friends from south of the border. It's great to see so many high school, collegiate, and pro coaches from south of the border joining us again, along with 200 other coaches who are again visiting us this Wednesday night to be with Coach Heefner. So what do you say? Let's get this party started. Your host tonight is a teacher in the Department of Math and Science at St. Andrew's College, just north of Toronto, one of the best known all-boys private schools in Canada. Besides teaching, he has helped coach both the varsity hockey and varsity baseball teams at St. Andrew's College during his time there. During his playing days, he played at a Division III school in St. Paul, Minnesota, a 4-year starter as a shortstop. Now he's coached travel ball, high school ball, and also been a coach of the Ontario youth team, the best 16 and 17-year-olds in Ontario for 3 years. Please welcome your host, Chris Papalia. As well, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our guest, a former speaker at the Best Ever Coaches Clinic here in Toronto every January. He is in his 13th year as head coach at Dallas Baptist University. His .655 winning percentage ranks him as the number 13th ranked active NCAA D1 coach. Always find DBU as one of the top 25 programs when you look at the rankings each year. DBU is regarded as one of the most potent offensive teams in NCAA baseball. He is widely regarded as one of the best hitting coaches. Besides being an NCAA coach and coaching collegiate and pro players, he is also dad, a father to 5 boys aged 4 to 16 years of age. So he kind of understands youth and travel baseball at the same time. Please welcome Coach Dan Heefner. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Dirk. Appreciate the introduction.
Thanks, Dirk.
Welcome, Dan. Yeah, thank you. So I just, before we get going, Dan, you came to speak here at the Best Ever Clinic in 2017. It was one of the best talks I've ever seen. Really loved it. You spoke about the kinetic link, some drills, how to develop hitters, what the biomechanics are behind the swing. And it's clear that you're using this to good effect at Dallas Baptist, perennial 40 game winner in college baseball. So, before we get into the nuts and bolts, I just want to ask you to open up, how did you get to where you are today? Who do you pay tribute to? Tell us about your journey to be head coach of Dallas Baptist.
Sure. Well, first, it's an honor to be with you guys tonight. Really enjoyed when I came up there. Dirk puts on an outstanding clinic, and all the coaches that were there. It was just one of the favorite ones I've ever been to. So I was really looking forward to this tonight. Thankful for the opportunity. And as far as my coaching career, I was very fortunate. Started at the University of Northern Iowa with Rick Heller, who's now the head coach at the University of Iowa. So when I was in grad school, I spent my first 2 years there as a volunteer assistant, and I could not have had a better person to start coaching under. He's got just a phenomenal coach, truly a developmental mindset, a really good plan and a system. So to be able to see that from the beginning and then, take that for myself and then, kind of make it my own through the years was a huge help. After that, I went to Creighton University under Ed Service. So again, I started under two of the best baseball guys in the country. Rick, just outstanding baseball guy, outstanding on the offensive side, also defensively. Ed Service, reputation for being one of, if not the best, he's one of the best defensive coaches in the country. So that's how I got my start into it. And then I came down here to DBU as an assistant coach for 3 years. The head coach moved on to a different position, and I was fortunate I got promoted to be the head coach at a pretty young age. So kind of, definitely blessed with who I worked with and then, where I was at and the opportunity I got when I was here at DBU.
Great, Coach. Thanks for sharing. It's clear, you mentioned those names, Rick Heller and Ed Service, like those people, like they're very caring. They care about their athletes. That's a focus for their program. It's been obviously a difficult time for college baseball with the cancellation this season. Just, what are some of the things you're doing with your athletes in the interim while we, wait on what's next?
Yeah, definitely hard. I mean, first thing is we're just staying in touch with them. We've split them up amongst our coaches. So they get a call. We started off where they got a call every other day from a coach. We've since backed that off a little bit to once or twice a week. We call them personally. I just think that's important that they hear from us and it's not just a text message or a group message. So it's just checking in, how are the workouts doing? How's your family doing? Just wanting to know, is there anything off the field that they're struggling with, classes, that type of thing. We stay real close with them from a training standpoint. Our strength coach does a great job and he's giving them workouts to do along with variations. So if you don't have a facility, you can continue to get work in. And then the other thing we've done, which has been really fun, we've been doing a weekly Zoom call together. And that was good in the beginning just to make sure guys are still getting their work in. And, hey, guys, this is not a vacation. We're going to still work through this and do what we can to come out better on the other side. But we just changed that up the last couple of weeks, and we've split it up separate with our pitchers and our position players. And we started getting kind of the legends from our schools. Like this last week, we had Colin Poche, left-handed pitcher who just made it up with the Tampa Bay Rays last year. He spoke to the pitchers and just did an hour question and answer session with him. And then our hitters got Devlin Gramberg, who was a All-American and second in the nation in hitting a few years ago. So that was a real fun one. And we're going to continue to do that every week, just kind of bring somebody new in that they can ask questions to and pick their brain and share their experiences. So enjoyed that. Other ideas that we've had, just because once you start doing those, you got to mix it up and keep it fresh for them. So the other one we're going to do is, everybody's getting their work in, but try to have a guy that we highlight each day where, they all have the capability of videoing themselves. Like for the hitters, hey, video yourself this week while you're doing your hitting stuff. And then when we have our Zoom call together, throw it up there for everybody to see and just talk through what you're working on, how you're working on it, what type of drills. So that's another idea we have of just kind of how to keep them thinking the game and getting their work in during this time.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. I think, it goes to show just how dedicated you and your staff are to making sure the athletes are are looked after and feel good, and that they're thinking about baseball, they're thinking about their swing, they're constantly developing. Um, so let's get into it, Coach. I think one of the most exciting things that you've done is you've studied the sequencing of the swing. Can you let those tuning in know what is the kinetic link, and just feel free to get into it. I know this is your jam. You love talking about this sort of stuff, so let loose.
Sure.
Kinetic link.
Okay. First, I'll kind of just share a little background on it. I'll make it real quick. I kind of lucked into this personally as a player, where I was kind of always taught, use your hands, be real direct to the baseball. And, I was a real coachable guy, so I was doing that. And then all of a sudden one summer I'm playing summer ball, and I kind of check swing and didn't feel good. I check swing again. And I just had the thought, just whatever you do, don't do that again. Just keep your hands back. And that was my thought, was just hold them. And the pitch was coming in, and I'm just thinking, hold as I'm turning, and I hit a home run. So, well, I'll try that again. And I kept doing it. And the next year I hit 22 home runs, and I'd never been a home run hitter before. So I start watching guys and watching how the big leaguers hit. And it's like, man, they're not doing what I was kind of trying to do. And they stay back here, and they really use their body to swing the bat. So, I just kind of lucked onto that. And then I go to grad school, and I'm a biomechanics major, and I've got to come up with what am I going to do in my thesis. So that's what I decided to do. I say, I go to the professor and I say, hey, I want to look at how long the guys keep their hands back, and, the power hitters compared to contact hitters. And the professor at the time, she's like, oh, you want to measure the kinetic link. And she tells me exactly how to do it. And, that's what I did. And that's what we know for certain that is what allows people to hit for power, is the sequence of your swing. So I'll show it real quick, and I'm not going to get super deep into this. But this is the result of when I was in grad school there. So this is the idea of the kinetic link. It's just a sequence that, works from the middle of your body. Hips, when they reach their peak velocity, then the shoulders take over. When they reach their peak, then your hands and bat take over. So this was, 15 years ago now that I did this. So there's some little better technology, but this is an example of a guy, just so you can tell the sequence. He's an All-American, high draft pick, kind of that complete hitter. And he had the perfect sequence: hips, shoulders, hand, and bat. And this was real eye-opening to me. This was another guy, good hitter in our program, a 300 hitter, but no power. And you can see here his hips, the black line and the red line, that's his hips and shoulders. So they're going, but his hands and bat went so far before him that he didn't get the benefit of it. So, again, good hitter. And to me, it's not just a contact power thing. To me, it is these are your best hitters, the guys who hit for power and average. This is a guy, he can be productive for us, but he's never going to be great. So that's what I learned in grad school. And then ever since then, it's been, okay, how do we apply this? How do we teach it to our guys? And I was not the originator of this, but we just refer to it as connection. That we've just found if our guys' hands, hip, and the back knee stay together for the first part of their swing, they're going to be connected. They're going to have a pretty good sequence in their swing. So that's what we've been trying to do. Here's a good picture of, this is what most guys do when they come into our program. I think a lot of youth players too, you're going to see this where they're pushing the bat. See how the hands are in front of that shoulder, hip, and back knee line. So a lot of what we do, and I know we can talk about some drills later, two things. We can either work on things to help them delay their hands in their swing. That's kind of what worked for me. Or some other guys, we think about, okay, what can we do to make the lower half work better? And then that's going to clean up their sequence and help them do it. Another thing I've learned through the years, though, there's too much of a good thing as well. And you can disconnect the other way, and you can drag it behind. And this is one, actually, you see this, like you said earlier, I've got 5 sons, anywhere from my youngest is 6, oldest is 17. So I've seen this with them as well. Like, definitely the pushing happens a lot. But if a kid's just not strong enough, or when they're really young, they're going to drag the bat a little bit. And I've kind of come to learn I'm not going to worry about that too much, just because as they get stronger, that part gets a little bit better. And I think this is an easier fix than this is sometimes. And there's benefits to both of them. We have to learn how to work with both guys. The benefit of this guy here is like his hands work pretty good and they usually have good barrel control. So I really like that. And then we kind of just build the bigger motor with them, and then we have a pretty complete. Yeah, so that's kind of the gist of the kinetic link, the sequence. And I really think it is everything in the swing. It is the most important thing. And I don't care who you are on our team. If you're the, fastest center fielder we've ever had, we want to teach you that. We're not going to have you elevate the baseball, but we still want you to swing in sequence, because I think there's so many benefits other than just hitting the ball hard and hitting home runs to the kinetic link.
Awesome. Yeah, well, so I'll just let you keep going with the benefits. I mean, some of the videos you're probably ready to show. It's like, what specifically in the sequence allows hitters to be on time? Are they able to, manage the bat better? Are they able to see pitches longer? If everything's moving as a unit, their vision probably, helps a lot. They're able to control the barrel more.
Oh, yeah.
Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Oh yeah, you're nailing it. I should let you go because you're.
No. People don't want to hear me.
That was one thing. So one thing you said there really hit me this year. We had a very young, inexperienced team this year, and we got off to a good start, but we were not hitting real well, and we were going to get there. We were just starting to turn the corner when things ended. But the one thing I noticed was, pitching is getting so good, and everybody's throwing so hard, and to me, that's another reason you have to have the right sequence, because it slows the game down. If you're trying to, push at the baseball when it's coming in as hard as it's coming today, you got no shot. You're just speeding the game up when you're going this way and the ball's coming this way, compared to when I'm my hands are staying back as this thing's coming real fast. It slows it down. They see the ball better, and they have more barrel control. So let me just run through couple benefits. Obviously power is one of them. And here's another thing. This guy here, he's in the Diamondback system now, but he was 150 pounds when he came to us. He was 165 when he left and hit 15 home runs. So, you don't have to be huge to hit for power if you use your body correctly. The other thing, it's not just home runs. It's just where I said, I don't care who you are, we want you to do it, because the harder you hit the baseball, the higher your average is going to be. So even like that real fast guy, we don't want him elevating a ton. We want him hitting the ball low and on a line. Well, now those line drives are getting through. Those hard ground balls are going to get through. So these are major league averages here between 95 and 99 miles an hour. You can see they hit 400. So there's that benefit. I think consistency too, to me, it's just a simpler swing where as those hands stay by the back shoulder, you always know where the barrel is at. It's going to be pretty consistent. The other thing here, hopefully this one makes sense, but when the hands stay back here and you're balanced and you start to turn, your bat gets on plane and it stays on plane for a long time. So barrel control is everything. I think that is going to become, it's been power, but to me, the next thing is going to be to improve bat to ball skills. And to me, when you swing this way, now it's just a minor adjustment you have to make one way or the other, compared to if you're all arm dominant, a lot can go wrong that way. So I think there's less you can mess up on. Here's one more benefit. I think it helps your pitch selection. And I'll show you what I mean on this one right here. So watch if we go through. And you can see this looks like he is ready to swing. He is in full swing mode. But you can see his hands are staying back, so he has not committed his hands yet. And then he's able to check up and take a breaking ball that was in the dirt. So another benefit. I think there's so many benefits. Last one, adjustability. We've all heard, a guy like a breaking ball like this, and you can see him kind of stay back, ride his legs out, and still drive the baseball. We've all heard people say he kept his hands back well on that one. So again, to me, it's even if you did not hit for more power by swinging in this sequence, I would teach it to our guys because of all the other benefits there are. So, obviously I'm a big believer in it, and I think it's important for everybody. If it's your power hitter or your contact guy, I think there's, there's a little difference on some body positioning and launch angle stuff, maybe with those different guys, but I think the sequence is the same for both.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll get into more of those. I just got a few questions. When we talk about playing to the bat and staying on plane, how important is it where that bat starts relative to the body? I know some guys kind of have a load where it's farther away. Like, do you sort of require your players to, like, so when I hit personally, I needed to have my hands in a spot that felt like, okay, I don't need, they're not going to move as I turn. So, like, what is it that you tell your athletes, or is that something that you let them figure out and feel comfortable with?
Yeah. I'm a big believer in letting them be comfortable in their stance, letting them be comfortable with the way that they load. And we're going to give them different options. And we encourage them to feel things out and to try different things to help them find what works best for them. But I think it becomes really, really consistent. When the foot hits the ground, they're in a very similar position. And in the position, I don't want to waste time looking for this one. I think we can all picture it. But, when the front foot hits the ground, usually the hands are over the back foot and the barrel is right over their head. And it's almost universal. Like, they're balanced, head is right between their feet, hands over the back foot, barrel over the head, and they've got a little bit of a lean with their upper body too. So I think that's the most important part. Is not necessarily what are you doing in your stance, but what are you going to do when your foot hits the ground and it's time to launch? That's where you've got to be in a good hitting position. And it ties in really well to the sequence. It's like you've got to get into a position where your whole body can work together. And, if you're kind of messed up and you're, one would be like if the hands are in too tight, well, you're already disconnected. You can't be in sequence. So, yeah, I do think that hitting position's a big deal. Obviously, we don't want our guys to be in extremes where it's very difficult for them to get to a launch position. But at the same time, I like movement. I like momentum because I think it helps them stay more athletic. I think it helps them stay loose. I think it helps them time the baseball better if they are moving a little bit compared to if it's just, okay, this is where you hit from, so you're going to start there and stay there. I don't see many good hitters that hit with no movement, no rhythm before they swing.
Got it. I just got a few questions coming in from the audience in the chat here. So Jason asks about sometimes, so he says bat drag has a habit of creating a rollover as well. And where and when does that drag start, and what needs to be corrected?
Yep, great question. Let me try to find this one again that we showed earlier. So to me, am I sharing this, or is it just me looking at it?
Right now, just you.
Okay. It's not showing it for me here. All right. Well, you remember back to the one where it showed the guy and it had the line and the hands were behind the line? And I'm sorry, I'm not sure why it's not showing here. But to me, when does it become bat drag? When is it connection and a good sequence, and when does it go too far into bat drag? The thing I always look for there is when that back elbow gets in front of their hands. To me, that's when they're dragging the bat, and that's going to be really tough on them from a, just being able to. All right, I'm trying to get back to the screen here.
All good.
So if it makes sense, hands here, when that elbow gets in front of the hands, now you're dragging the bat, the barrel's going to dump down. You are going to get those rollovers, flares to the opposite field, or rollovers this way. So that's why the barrel's hugely important, and you have to have control of your barrel. We do want to swing in sequence, but you can do it too much if the body gets out too much and you start dumping the barrel behind, dragging the barrel. Yeah, there's definitely both. Like I said earlier, we've got to be able to help those guys who are pushing the bat, but we've also got to have some tools to help the guys who are dumping it and dragging it as well.
Got it. Thank you. I'll kind of pop a few questions in here and there as they well. So Scott Scott in the audience has a question about where the head and the eyes are in the link. Is that something that is it moving forwards? How where does that factor in?
Yeah. To me, I think the best way I've heard it described is you have to be balanced, but it's dynamic balance. So we want that head to be extremely stable. And to me, balance is just when your head is right between your feet. So in our stance, we want to be between our feet. I think most hitters, you're going to see them as they load and make their move to the ball, it's going to move forward a little bit. But as long as it stays between the feet that entire time, it's a good thing. And I actually think a little bit of that head movement, you kind of need it too. That momentum's a good thing. And you think about the kinetic link, we get a little bit of a forward move. And then when we stop that, that's going to then turn into rotation. So I don't think it's a bad thing. It has to be controlled. Obviously there can be too much of it as well. But I am not opposed to the head having a forward move in the swing. I think it's a good thing. I also think it can help with just body position as well. When you do get a little bit of a forward move, now you're set up into a good line drive position compared to, sometimes I've seen guys, if they focus so much on not moving my head so I can see the ball, well, then they start staying back too much and now they're lifting up their swing.
It'll change that sort of dynamic angle as it comes through if they're not moving.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully you're able to share screen again, but what I know in previous presentations you've made, you've discussed, the engine of the swing versus the steering wheel of the swing as these sort of two main parts. Can you explain, what they are? And then, as we go, maybe we'll get into some drills, like what do you do to train this connection and the kinetic link?
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of how we've broken it down, is thinking engine and steering wheel. And I think a lot of traditional ways to drills that people use are more just working on the steering wheel, which is for obvious reasons. Like if you don't have a good steering wheel, you can't hit. So a lot of high T one-handed drills, a lot of the barrel control stuff, we call those your steering wheel. The engine is more getting the middle of the body to work right, getting them more explosive. Sometimes it's a mobility thing, explosiveness. So let's just kind of go through some of them here and try to share this. Now it's giving me the one that I didn't want. This will work. Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
Got it. All right. So, I almost think of it like this here. You think of that kinetic link, the hip and shoulders, that's our engine, that the arms and hands, that's the steering wheel. So we want to have drills to work on both of them. Always been a big believer. Every time we hit, we usually do something without a bat before we go. So here's an example of that. A lot of medicine ball stuff, to me, this is pure engine that we're working on here. And again, I think if this works right for a guy, then the steering wheel gets easier. So that's why we always start with this. Every single day we hit, we're going to spend not a lot of time, but 5 to 10 minutes on different engine type things. Here's let's see if this one will work. We really like this one and started doing this one this year, where it's the same medicine ball drill we've done in the past, but instead of just throwing it, now we're going to catch it palm up, palm down. Now here he's going to throw one lower. So now you get some, stability that you have to have. And not only are we going to have to rotate fast, but we have to be able to be stable and put the brakes on as well. So we really like that one. So we're always going to do different things just to help them work on the end. So this would be another example of a swing drill we're going to do without swinging the bat. This is just a foam roller here. There's nothing fancy about that. You could use about anything, but it's just going to force him it's forcing his body to work and not just throw the hands at. Another example, we use, rubber bands all the time. So this is a pretty heavy one and I'm pulling back on him. So the only way he's going to be able to turn here is he has to use his core and his engine. He can't use his arms to do it. It's too heavy. So those are a couple examples. And now this would be another example. Like we're taking his arms completely out of it. That's just a PVC pipe. So the only way he can hit it is the engine's got to work. He's got to be able to turn. This one was, get 3 guys together or 4 or whatever, and they just start in a dead position. We say go, and then how quick can they turn and get there? We start doing this to where now you got to be kind of dynamic with it, where it's just a soft toss. So again, it's forcing the body to work. This is kind of our go-to drill. Like we do this one. They have to master this. I talked earlier about how I like momentum, but we're going to teach them to hit without momentum because it's going to force them to use the core of their body. And we came up with this one years ago. So it's called the Sosa drill, and they don't even know who he is anymore. But we call it that because of just this position here of Sosa, kind of when he was in his tap back position. You see the body lean and the hands are out in front. And so those are the 2 things we're going to make them do. So here's one of our guys doing it. So here's that hitting position we were talking about earlier, where you start however you want, but when the foot hits the ground, this is a pretty universal position where his head's right between his feet, his hands are back over his back foot, the barrel's over his head. So we're going to get him in this position and then stop. Like you're not moving. We're going to even sometimes have to manipulate him. Get your hands back a little bit, barrel over your head, get yourself balanced, get them there, and then we give them a go, just like we saw in that one fat bar drill where they're just set up and you wait, and then when we say go, now you go and make contact and try to hit this thing as hard as you can. And the only way you're going to do that is you got to be really good with the core in your back hip if you're going to hit it hard with no momentum.
Coach, I just want to jump in 1 sec to ask a question. With those PVC pipe drills, what's the sort of cue for where the ball goes? Do you care where it goes, or are you looking like what's the hitter trying to accomplish when he hits the ball? Because that sort of helps me understand what it is. Like I'm not just swinging with no purpose. Like what's their external goal?
Yeah, you nailed another good one there. We want an external goal on every single drill we do. And on that one there, on that fat bar drill, we do want it to be, we're telling them, hey, hit it off the center field wall here, because that's going to force their body to stay behind the ball and stay in a good athletic body lean position. Their first reaction is going to be, they're going to go at it like this, and they're just going to smoke it, a ground ball down to their pull side. So that's where, you nailed that. I should have mentioned that. Or just think, hey, hit this right over the pitcher's head, or hit the pitcher in the forehead with this ball. And a lot of times we use it with wiffle balls. So, I'll go and stand 20 feet out in front of them and just say, hey, hit it to me. Use that PVC pipe and hit it right to me. And you have to have perfect balance. Like you cannot, if you lean back or if you go forward, you cannot hit it up the middle because you've got no adjustment with your hands. Sometimes our body's in a bad position, but we make this adjustment with our hands to get it where we want to go. Well, on that, you're forcing the body to be perfect.
Got it. Does the feed make a difference? Do you say, hey, here's a low pitch, here's a high pitch with that PVC pipe? Is that like how valuable is that? Yeah, it is. I'd say hold off on that one.
Okay. Get up, just doing it off the tee first. And actually, that's kind of a specific one where are you seeing this one here, our guy in this body lean position?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's a big deal. And that's one where, we'll see a lot of guys stand straight up and down in their stance, but when their foot hits the ground, they get pretty athletic like this. And my thought is I want them to get to a position where if you just stay connected, you're set up for that kind of middle pitch. So now we can make a small adjustment of the body going up, or we can make a small adjustment of the body going down. That's the benefit of doing the fat bar with soft toss, is now you're doing exactly like you said, and I'm going to make you, now that you've got it down pretty good, now we're going to make you adjust a little bit. So let's go back
Perfect.
to the
Perfect. Yeah.
You'll see on one of the end ones, I did it to him on purpose. So this is a high one, another high one. So he's able to stay pretty tall. Kind of that's that middle. And then he's going to get one. I think this next one, I'll throw it down. And he had to see how he had to really lean, have some side bend to get to that one. So that one's not necessarily for everybody. Sometimes you get a guy who he's just stuck in his posture and he does not move. And that's a good one to make that person do.
Gotcha. Yeah, the next those many ball drills. I'm just looking. There's a few questions coming in here while I'm looking for it. Those many ball drills. How much? I mean, it looks. Are you integrating athletic development in there too? Like, how appropriate is this for younger kids, building athleticism, building strength in the core as the foundation for the swing? Like, what's your philosophy on that?
Yeah, 100%. I think how many swing faults are because the body just doesn't move correctly or they're not strong enough. So that's why I think it's a great way to start every day. And, it's a real easy thing. It's like, get them in this position, hold this med ball, palm up, palm down. And when I say go, throw it against the wall as hard as you can. Turn and throw it against the wall. And this has been a really cool one. Like, we're doing these med ball drills and stuff. And then you can ask the guy, say, hey, where did you feel that at? And they're going to be able to show you. So I don't know if this will.
Oh yeah, we're going on camera here. I love it.
Yeah. So
Dirk, can you pin video or something just to get a full view of him?
This will be fine. But if
Okay.
I have a med ball drill and I'm holding it right here, so even like I said, I got kids. So my 11-year-old son, or even when he was like 8 or 9 years old, I give him a light med ball, put it right here, and then say, all right, I just want you to turn and throw that thing against the wall. All right, ready, go, bam. He throws it against the wall. All right, where did you feel that at? And he's going to be, I felt it right here. Awesome. Okay, now we go hit, and now he's hitting, and he gets in his stance, and maybe he's just throwing his hands at the ball. Hey, where did you feel that med ball at? And he's like, right here. Okay, feel that on this swing right now. And it's like, bam, like it'll clean the swing up really quick because they learn to feel doing a med ball drill that translates directly to their swing. So I think it's huge. I'm always looking for ways. Hitting's hard. It's very hard. And how can we make it as simple as possible for them? I'm really conscious of, I don't want them getting all messed up and getting too mechanical, and I got to do this and this and this. So like a simple feel of, where'd you feel that med ball? Okay, let's try to do that in your swing. I love trying to do stuff like that.
Yeah. Like you're not trying to give them instructions on what to do. You want them to find their feel with the drill, with the activity.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You mentioned it earlier, that idea between internal and external. There's a time and a place for internal cues. And to me, it's almost easier to give an internal cue working on a med ball drill or getting on a fat bar and making sure their body's in the right position. And now when we go with a bat in our hand, hitting a ball that's moving, now instead of that internal cue, we just get to say, hey, set up just like you did on the fat bar, or feel that same thing you felt when you did the med ball drill, or, as simple as, hey, skip a rock on a lake. Okay, to work on bat path if a guy's pushing it down too much or something. Hey, remember when you skip a rock? Now feel that right here. So to me, those are kind of almost like external feels and cues instead of, externally rotate your back arm and, technical jargon that could, that could really mess somebody up.
Got it. A couple more questions from the audience. One deals with the leg kick and what sort of, whether or not that has an effect on that link, or is that kind of just part of the pre-stride aspect where when their foot gets down, you want them in that spot? Can you discuss a little bit about leg kick?
Yeah. Okay. let's see. I like the idea of letting each guy figure out what works best for them. So I'll give you an example. We had a player on our team this year, real good player, infielder, flashy. Like you let him take ground balls, it's going to be flare and flash, and he's kind of a dancer, like rhythm and all this kind of stuff. So I'm watching him do everything he does. Everything is flashy, rhythm, big movements too. You know, when he throws, he fields a ground ball, it's going to be, you know, he's throwing like that. And then all of a sudden he gets in the box, and this is how he'd been coached. You know, he's just dead still. And so it's like, hey, Andres, just be you, man. You know, get up there and dance, like have some rhythm. And all of a sudden he frees up and he starts leg kicking, and, you know, he kind of pumps the bat a little bit, and he starts raking because I let him, like, that's how his body works. That's the rhythm of his body. So I like to try to figure out what works best for each guy. Another thing on a leg kick, so some of those guys who like bigger movements, they're going to have better timing with that. Sometimes we think, oh, leg kick, it's too much movement, they're not going to time the pitcher well. No, if he's a movement guy, he's going to time the pitcher better with that extra movement. The other one is some guys just from a strength standpoint, mobility, those type of things. I had a hitter, one of my first years here, the first team All-American I ever had, was a really strong guy. And we just kind of preset him into that, you know, that almost like the Sosa drill.
Sosa.
Yeah, he just went off, hits 20 home runs. So I'm thinking, well, that's it. Like, we're just going to preset everybody. It doesn't work that way. Like, you got some guys that need momentum, that need to be up tall, and their body has to load into it in order to rotate well. And I think the same thing with a leg kick. Some guys almost need that leg kick because it's going to help them get into their back hip, and they need that momentum to be able to rotate their hips. So just
Gotcha.
couple thoughts. And I think you'll see as we go along here, I try to come up with what is a plan and a system that we can communicate to our whole team, but we also want to be able to individualize with different guys as well. Like, it's not hitting's too hard. Like, you can't cookie cut it and just say, this is it. This is how you stride. This is how you load. You know, I think the core principle of I want every single guy to swing in sequence, but we're going to figure out how does each body work to get them in sequence, and what cues work for each guy.
Awesome. We're gonna keep moving here. I know. So you've told us about the engine, keeping it connected. Now tell us how you train the steering wheel, how you incorporate that into your drill series that you do with your players.
Sure. Let me find a couple here for us.
You having fun, Coach?
Oh yeah, this is great. These are good questions and fun questions. Okay, let me share this part. So this is, to me, the steering wheel now is some of the traditional drills that we've always done. Got to get to, all right, now we're on the steering wheel. So a lot of the traditional drills, but I think it's to me, the best things, again, it goes back to that external goal. And we want every single one of our players to do this. We call it a power oppo ground ball. So you kind of see like a left-handed hitter here, shortstops over here. We want like a one-hop ground ball. It hits the infield brown, but these balls should end up at the outfield. So here's a right-handed hitter doing it. You know, we're trying to go for this line right here. That's a little far. That's the perfect power oppo ground ball, that last one.
Okay.
So
Landing like just in
goal,
the middle of the dirt area,
yep,
and just rolling for a day.
Yeah. So it's not, we're not guiding it over there. We still want to hit the ball hard, but it's hitting right in here.
Right.
And pick these things up at the outfield wall.
Like I know from high school, if you tell the kids like, hey, hit and run or whatever, and they hit the other way and they get handsy and they start trying to, you know, direct it that way rather than drive it. So that power oppo ground balls are really, that's, I guess, that mindset you want your players to have.
Exactly. Yep. still want to be, it's not a different swing. It's a connected swing. But we do want to have the barrel control where we can stay over it. So the one hitter I was telling you about that talked to our team on Monday, Devlin Gramberg, he hit 443 at the Division I level, second best hitter in all of NCAA baseball a couple of years ago. And he was talking to our guys, and it was awesome hearing him say everything. And he said, one of his things was, I learned that I did not have to have a good batting practice. And so we dug in on that more. What do you mean by that? He's like, I rarely ever felt good in BP. He's like, I would try to find my good swing in BP, but he said, I did know if I could hit a hard, low line drive to the opposite field, then I knew I could have success in the game that night. And that's kind of my belief as well, is that if you can execute this, you can help our team win the game. Because how many situations are dependent on being able to do this right here? If there's a runner on third base with one out and the infield is back, boom, power oppo ground ball, we score a run. Runner on second base, nobody out, power middle oppo ground ball, you move that guy up and you give yourself a chance of a base hit. 2-strike approach, power oppo ground ball is a great approach with 2 strikes. Like, there's so many things that work well if you can do this. And we haven't talked about it, but we work a lot on bat speed and intent and letting guys get after it. We do the exit velo and that stuff. And sometimes some people might watch us hit and be like, that's out of control. Well, I don't worry about it because they have to be able to do the power oppo ground ball. So I kind of feel like that's the governor on the swing of, we can get after it all we want. We can play home run derby. We can do exit velo competitions, because they won't get to do that until they can execute the power oppo ground ball.
Amazing. You have a few more drills on the slides there.
Yeah. Okay, this one, again, it's just as simple as what you talked about earlier, external goal, just call your shot. So this one here, he said berm, oppo scoreboard.
It's like target practice.
Yeah, he's just playing target practice. So to have the ability to do whatever you want with the baseball. I didn't have a picture, so I just made it, but this is one we've gone to. We used to do it. We do it with almost everybody now is high T, because that's, whoever asked the question earlier about bat drag and dropping the barrel, I think that's becoming more and more common with just the way hitting is being taught these days. And so a lot of guys are dropping the barrel, dragging. And then on top of that, pitchers are being taught to throw up in the zone with the right fastball. So we do a lot of high T now. That's a daily drill for almost everybody in our program, is that you have to be able to handle this baseball, which I think to me is a steering wheel thing as well.
Those circles on the ground there, are they cues for contact point, or what's the function there?
Yep. So I'll show that one right here. So here's another one. I think this is a steering wheel thing. We just call it big zone. So when I throw it to him, I'm going to throw him one inside, and then I'm going away, then I'm going high, then I'm going to go low. So let's see. I'll let this play here. So inside, away, high, low, and then we're going to work, we call it the ladder drill. So he's going to hit it. He's going to let the ball travel all the way to this blue dot and make contact. And then on the next one, the white, and then the red. So we want them to have a swing that you can handle all parts of the strikes. So that's the white. Now here comes blue. So that's what we do. And I think it's a good steering wheel thing. It's a great timing drill. I know we're not talking about timing right now, but hitting is timing, pitching is disrupting timing. How do we work on timing? This has been one of the best ways we've found to work on timing. We just call it the ladder drill, and we do a verbal with it as well. They have to say right now. So right when I start my motion, release the ball, they're going to say right, and they have to say now at contact. So you got to say now, right when the ball's over the blue and you make contact. Next one, white, now. Red, now. So let me play that back, and I'll just do it for him. Right now.
Okay.
And then right now. And it's crazy, but that really helps them. Now think about this as another easy one then that you can take into a game. So you're ahead in a count. So we work on this every single day. Now we're ahead in a count. It's a 2-0 count. And it's as simple as, hey, red dot, catch it out front, get it at the red dot. 2 strikes. Hey, get him on the blue now. Or, that thumber that we're just having a ton of trouble staying back on. Hey, white to blue. Quit trying to get this guy at the red. Let's just white to blue. So again, just trying to think of what are some things we can do in practice that then make an approach or a thought more simple for them
Gotcha.
in the box.
And that there's a question from the audience coming in here in a second, but that right, the function of that is to make sure that the hitter is on time with their load up so that they're prepared to get to the right spot.
Yeah. And I think I'm glad you said that, because I think, probably the number one thing we talk about, and we actually even say the number one rule as a DBU hitter is don't be late. For this whole thing to work, for the sequence to work, you have to start early. And because you're not committing your hands early, but we got to start early so we give ourselves time to work from the ground up and from for our hips to work and for everything to work in that sequence. So we work a ton on being on time with the pitcher,
Gotcha.
the pitcher, being on time with handbrake. So yeah, that's a huge concept and something we work on a lot. And we do the verbals a lot, because now they don't realize how late they start until you make them say it out loud. And then as the pitcher, I start throwing and, I'm here throwing to them, and they got to be on time with handbrake. They got to say right. And, I go through and they haven't said anything. Boom. I just stop. You were late.
Okay.
So yeah, timing's a big deal. And I think a lot of times, like, a guy has a bad swing and we might, oh man, you were really leaning back on that one, or you're pulling off. No, you just started late. And then you had to do that because the ball
had to rush. Is that like I just got to rush to get organized, and my body just can't manage?
Yeah,
it.
think of, you start late and that ball's right on top of you. You're gonna try to make contact, so it's gonna be fly out, panic, lean back. Well, those weren't the problems. The problems was just I was late. So that's the number one thing we talk about the most is timing and trying to help their timing out.
Perfect. I know we got a couple an audience question here, but I do want to make sure we get to some things. I noticed some of your guys have one hand on the bat when they finish. Is there a preference really for you in the follow through, or whatever just happens?
Yeah, the one thing I look for in that is, are you doing it because you have to, or because that's more comfortable for you? Yeah. So, an example of that would be, a guy. I think it's really important that you finish the core of your body. So if these hips get square to the pitcher and you let go with one hand, I'm fine with it. But I think you'll see some guys where they don't finish their hips and then they have to let go. Think of that. Think of turn your hips about halfway and try to hold on with 2 hands. It's not going to work. It's going to feel terrible. So there are some guys where, and we do a drill, we call it the Harper drill, where you have to finish with 2 hands. Because I think it kind of cleans up your path a little bit, and it forces you to finish your hips square to the pitcher.
Got it. You spoke a little bit in here about adjustability and allowing your hitters, playing target practice, managing their swing, understanding the variability in pitches that they need to hit. What are the things that you do to specific? Like, why is that so important for you? Like, what's like? Tell us about that.
Yeah. Why is it important? Because that's the game. That's literally like the game of when we're in a real game, they have to be able to adjust, hit different speeds. I've even, taken it a step further. You think about how different our training is from a game situation, even of, so a guy throwing a fastball in a game, for us, the average is probably, 90 to 92. Okay. I know when I throw BP, if the scoreboard is on and I'll glance back and look at it, I throw 50 to 51 every pitch. And it's like no pitcher in a game throws within 1 mile an hour on his fastball. Like it's going to range probably about 4. So what are we doing to help guys, even on a fastball? We're not even talking about changing speeds. Their one pitch is going to vary in speed way more than what we do in practice. So we're trying to come up with more and more ways. So as simple as that, like even if we're doing front toss like this, we're not going to throw at the same speed every time. We're going to vary the speed on it. We do a lot on mixing pitches. Let's get back to this one later, because I think this one is a really good bat control. It's a great one for, like, you know, there's so many things we do as coaches where we can't watch them, everything they do. And this is a great way. We'll come back to that one on how they can get great work in on their own. Okay, I'll get to some adjustability here.
What's that Fran's push there? Yeah.
So,
Okay.
you know, I think, and I'm not one to knock on anybody, because I've done a lot of things that, and said a lot of things that ended up not being right. But I think sometimes the pendulum goes too far, where it became the launch angle thing, and you have to elevate the baseball, and that's where hits are at. That's where slugging percentage is at. Everything is about elevate the baseball. And I'm all for that. Like, you know, we really drive the baseball, and I want to drive the baseball. But what we talked about with that power oppo ground ball, I think it's, if we want to be able to launch it, we also have to know how to do the other stuff too. And you know, there was you guys probably all know it because it was Votto. Do you remember the clip of Votto a couple years back where he talked about it, and he said, you know, good hitters can do whatever they want with the baseball. And so since he said that and we showed it to our guys, we call it the Votto drill, and we'll put trash cans out around our field, and they have to, you know, play target practice with those different ones. So here's the idea here. I want our guys to launch the baseball. I want them to hit doubles, but they have to be able to do that. So he has to hit it. So you can see this red line here. It's tough for you to see here. There's a yellow line there.
Got
so
it.
on the
Like
first one,
midway. Okay.
Yep. So this one here, this is a great one to do. You don't have to be there. You're guaranteed it's going to be good work. So I got a radar gun, so it's exit velo, and we've got a target. So this first one, he's got to hit it over whatever his exit velo is in this area. Once he does, now he gets to go to this one. So that's a complete hitter there. He does whatever he wants with the baseball. I can hit it over 90 miles an hour here. I can hit over 90 miles an hour there. And he's doing it with an overload bat. And now he's going to do it with a light bat.
Okay.
So now he's got to go here again. And he just barely got it, about 100.9. Now he's got to go up top. And he did that. So to me, that's that idea of Fran's Bush. Like, if we want him hitting those doubles, and the way he's going to have a better feel for doing that is if he can do the opposite as well. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Like the idea, you know, I've heard from other coaches, basketball, like we practice from the free throw line all the time, but really what they should be doing is shooting in front of the free throw line, behind the free throw line, figuring out, like, you know, what feel do I need to generate that distance, and really mastering and owning your swing.
Yeah, one other thought on that, think of, you know, baseball is a game of adjustments, right? We're constantly having to make adjustments. So let's use that example of, if all a guy has ever done is we're just going to elevate the baseball, elevate the baseball, elevate the baseball. Now we're facing a pitcher who's got a good fastball that kind of rides a little bit. And that's my swing, and I'm missing under the ball and I keep fouling it off. Do I know how to make an adjustment? You know, my guy who just did that drill, he knows how to adjust. He knows how to say, okay, I'm going to get on top of this baseball, because sometimes you have to think that. Like, I want to hit a double, but in order to hit a double, I've got to try to hit a ground ball. So
yeah, I know when we chatted earlier on Monday, you mentioned Devlin Granberg. That was one of his swing thoughts that he had, because he approached the ball from a certain, like, his natural swing path. He had this thought versus another player that has another thought.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that idea?
Sure. So one of the players asked him, Devlin's swing thought is he tries to go down, and he says he tries to cut the baseball in half. And if you watch his swing, he is as on plane as anybody you've ever seen. So like, you don't do that though. Like, why do you think that if that's not what you do? And he said, because I naturally swing up. He's like, I know I naturally swing up because oftentimes if I miss a ball, I'm going to top spin it to the pull side. So I know I'm coming up too much. So he's like, I have to think down and cut the baseball in half, and that puts me right on plane with it. That same year, we had another player who naturally swung down on the ball. So he would even have sometimes where he would think, I'm going to hit the best big league pop-up you've ever seen. But that would, because he did this so much, when he would think that would put him right on plane with the pitch. So that's that idea of, okay, what is something that we want our entire team to do? And now we need to individualize it. So we want our entire team to be on plane with the pitch, but they might have to have different thoughts in order to get on plane with the pitch. We want our entire team to be in sequence when they swing, but there's going to be some guys to be in sequence need to keep their hands back more. Some guys to be in sequence need to be a little more aggressive with their hands because they drag the bat. So that's kind of that idea of have a core philosophy that works for everybody, but it's adjustable and adaptable as well.
Amazing. Awesome. Just in that same theme, where you're talking about barrel control and launch angle a little bit, I wanted you to touch on two things. First one is the radar gun, and the second one is how appropriate is launch angle for everyone in your lineup. Is there something where you want your 3-4 guys to have a certain angle versus your 7-8-9 guys, for youth coaches with your sons? Like what's your experience there with A, the radar gun, and B, with using this launch angle?
Yeah, the radar gun. So I like the radar gun a lot because of what it does for intent too. So let's go back to sequence, and I'll get to the launch angle part. We want everybody to swing in sequence. Okay, now think of just a goal. So if we go into the cage and we have that tee that they have back there, and we say, I want you to hit it dead in the middle of that tee. That's the only thing I tell them. How are they going to swing? It's going to be kind of slow, and they're just going to try to hit that tee. Now, if I say, so from a swing standpoint, they're probably going to get pretty armsy. Now, if I say, okay, I want you to hit that tee at 100 miles an hour, what's their swing going to look like now? Instantly, because of that exit velo goal, they're going to use their whole body, and they're going to have a better sequence. They're going to use their legs. They're going to use their core. And that's where, I think exit velo can get knocked a lot. But if you give a goal of where you want to hit to, then I think that puts it under control. If it's just hit as hard as you possibly can, well, like for us, whenever we do exit velo stuff, if you roll over a ground ball, right-handed hitter, if you hit a ground ball, you could hit it 140 at the shortstop and it's 0. And that's what we'll always say, like guy holding the radar gun, if you roll over a ground ball, we call it the black hole, 0. Oh, come on, I hit that really hard. No, it's 0. So yes, I like the exit velo for it makes them use their whole body. It also adds a ton of energy to practice. Drills become really fun and exciting when you measure them. And then they start competing against each other too. And that makes it really fun. And I'm all for anything that makes baseball fun and exciting. We're going to do it, because if they like it, they're going to practice more. So those are a few things on how we use exit velo. Is that good on that, or should I go to launch?
Yeah.
Anything more on exit?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to ask with the exit velo, one more thing before the launch angle. Playing games where you're modulating your swing, so it's okay. Hit it between 70 to 80. Hit it from 80 to 90. When we were chatting earlier, I love that idea. Can you just explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so we started doing that last year. I think to me, hitting has changed. Where kind of when I was growing up, it was we were just taught stay inside the ball, get on top of it, hit line drives, and I think that lasted for a long time. And now, just in probably the last 5 years, let's say, it's launch angle, elevate the baseball, use your body. And I'm seeing guys are losing their barrel control and losing feel too. And I think the same thing with pitching. You know, like velo's becoming such a big deal in pitching. For a long time, it was how are you a good pitcher? You command the baseball, you command your fastball. Now it's you throw hard. And I think guys are, like velo is such a big thing. They're losing their feel, from a pitching standpoint. And I think hitters are losing their feel. So we're trying to come up with ways, how can we get feel back in our hitters? So that was the idea with the exit velo. We don't always use exit velo for just max it out. The one that you said is, okay, 60, 70, 80, 90. So, our guys are in college, so they can get up there pretty good. But now your first one, you have to hit the ball between 60 and 69 miles an hour with your normal swing. So you can't just push at it. You got to take a normal swing, but it's going to you go to a big league game and watch batting practice. That's kind of how they start VP a lot of times. So first one, hit it 60 to 69. As soon as you do that, now 70 to 79. Once you get that, 80 to 89, then 90 to 99. And can you go up and down that? Do you have the feel to square up a baseball at different exit velos? That takes an extreme level of feel, and it's pretty fun.
Awesome. Okay, let's get into that launch angle idea. I know you've chatted a bit about it. What's optimal for you guys? Is it applicable for everyone? Is it applicable for every age group? What are your thoughts on that?
We tell our guys 10 to 15 degrees. It is almost a guaranteed hit. We have some neat technology and stuff. We have TrackMan, so we can tell in a game. We could go back over the last 5 years. If we hit the ball, it does not matter how hard we hit it. If we just hit it between 10 and 15 degrees, we hit over 600. So it's like if you hit it hard, that's that ball. It's right over the infield and it's in front of the outfield. Another way we'll just say is we want long line drives. Like that is the goal for our hitters, hit a long line drive. So I don't care who you are, if you're our 4-hole or you're our leadoff hitter, hit long line drives. Now that the leadoff guy, he might be, one hop ground ball to the long line drive. The power guy, he might be long line drive to he can miss up. But to me, if you're going to try to elevate the baseball and, say you're going to try to hit it 20, 25 degrees, then you got to have power where you can miss hit home runs. And there's not many people that have that. So I would say the vast majority of our guys, we want them to just be a line drive hitter. There's a quote by Albert Pujols, which this is what we want. Albert Pujols had the quote, he's like, I'm a line drive hitter with power. And that's what I'm trying to train our guys to be. And that's the mindset I want them to have, is that they're all line drive hitters. So yeah, it doesn't matter where you're at in the lineup. I want you being there. Then we give them some freedom. Those guys that have plus power, they can, or the wind's blowing out that day. Hey, let's get something up here. One way we say it is turn the outfielders back. So there's some situations too, like say runner on second base, nobody out, and okay, we could hit a power ground ball and move this guy over, or I've got a guy, my cleanup hitter's up, who's got some power. He's not going to hit a ground ball. I'm telling him to turn the outfielders back, because if he does and he's out, well, our guy's going to tag up and get to third base. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. I think,
Sure.
To me, like younger ages too. So if you're a young kid and you don't have power, well, if you're hitting the ball 10 to 15 degrees, you're getting a hit. So like those guys at the bottom of your lineup, the 7, 8, 9 guys, I think I would emphasize launch angle more to them than exit velo, because if they can put the ball on the line, even if you're not strong, you're a freshman, say you're a high school coach, you got a freshman kid who's really weak, doesn't matter. If he hits it at that right angle at 70 degrees, he's got a hit for you. So, and that's that idea of those lines we have in the batting cage. That's that line. If you get it over the yellow line, between the yellow line and the top of the cage, that's that 10 to 15 degrees. So we're really trying to emphasize that a lot.
Awesome. I know this is last little bit, we haven't quite got to everything we want to get to, but so we talked about swings, the engine, steering wheel, some drills. What do you do to train hitters? So tell me about, like, yes, you're teaching the swing. How about how do you teach competition? How do you teach hitters how to hit in a game? What do you do?
Yeah, that is a great question. I think it's even more important right now with we're all shut down and we're not playing games right now. We don't know when we're going to play games. So we got to figure out things we can do in practice to prepare them for game situations. To me, the very first thing is going to be we're just going to make sure that when we throw batting practice, so we do lots of stuff to work on our swing. So let me see if I can find one here. All those drills to work on our swing. So now when we're doing BP on the field and a pitcher is throwing, that is now working on a hitter. This is not swing work, this is hitter work. So it's always going to be a count or a situation that they're working on and not just, so let me see if I can find this. And this is simple. It's not a big deal. All right, let me share this with you. So to me, this is how we just work on being a hitter. I'm throwing BP and I'm going to mix pitches. It's not a good breaking ball, but it's a breaking ball. And so right now he's sitting fastball. He's going to hit fastballs only. And so now we're starting to simulate more of a game situation. And even things like, when I'm throwing, how we normally throw BP where you kind of get the ball, you kind of step in and then you throw. Well, just do it out of the stretch. And we've even gone as far as, okay, what's your time? We want this time to be similar to a game. So can I throw out of the stretch in BP at a 1.3 to the guy that's hitting? We're going to work on 2 strikes. So now I'm mixing pitches and he doesn't hit fastball only. He's got to be able to hit all of them. So there's the breaking ball and he's going power oppo ground ball. So again, the one before he gets to hit what he wants. Now he's got to be able to hit everything. Here's another hitter one that I think is really easy to do. So, I got these from Slow the Game Down, but this is easy as I just took baseballs, numbered them, and then screwed them into a little piece of wood. Put that on front of home plate whenever you're taking batting practice. Every single pitch just calls out where was that pitch? What number was it? To help them to start thinking about it's not always a swing, it's what pitch did you hit? Because if you take a good pitch, usually it's a pretty good swing, right? So a lot of pitch selection stuff like that.
Okay. Awesome. Anything else? Like, do you have compete games and different sort of things that you're doing with hitters? Like, I had a buddy ask a question about, how often are you doing tee versus front toss where like hitters are going to be successful, and then some max velo and some nasty spin, and like is that sort of mid-season practice routine for you guys, or how do you work that in?
Yeah, that's a real good question. Honestly, I try to do it all every day. So early in the fall, probably not. Like early in the fall, it's going to be teaching them the drills. It's going to be more tee, front toss, just some BP to make sure they can execute it. But then once we get that stuff down, like when we're in season, it is going to be, you're still doing your daily swing drills because you always, I call it weeding the garden. Like you're always going to have to be working on it and making those little adjustments to get your swing feeling good. So we're going to do some tee. We're going to do some front toss every day. We're going to do BP where we're mixing pitches and working on counts and situations every day. We're going to do fastball velo machines that's going to really challenge them. And we're going to see some breaking ball machines as well. Because again, we're trying to, and your buddy nailed it too. There are times he just needs to be confident. So
Coach? Hello? Did we lose you there a little bit? Okay, yeah, you're back. You're back now.
Okay.
Yeah. We lost you when you said there's times they just need to be confident.
Yeah. So, if a guy's really struggling in a game, I don't think it's good to where then they come back and the next practice, he just had a really tough weekend, and now we get him on a pitching machine that's just almost unhittable.
Yeah, shred.
So that might be a day where I bring him out early. We go out on the field. I set the L screen out, and I'm 15 feet, 20 feet in front of him, throwing overhand on a bucket, so I can basically put it on a tee at like 20 miles an hour and hit his barrel and just let him see himself hit line drives. Sometimes you do stuff like that just to give them confidence, but you can't do that every day. The best confidence I want them to get is from hitting well in a game. And I think you have to challenge them in practice in order to help them hit like that in a game. But you do have to have, I think, the tee, front toss, soft toss, that stuff all has a place, because when we're working on the swing, I don't want them worried about the baseball. I want them worried about their swing. And now we're going to worry about, now let's get the pitching to the point where you can't think about your swing now. You're going to have to think about seeing this baseball well. So that's why we like to try to do both, because we are going to work on our swing, and we want to work on being a hitter too.
And it's rarely is it at the same time. Is that what you're saying? Like, hey, here's time to train hitters, and here's time when you get into the box, it's compete time, and you're trying to hit versus I'm working on my technical swing.
Yeah, here's a real simple way we've tried to do that. If your helmet is on, you're a hitter. So like when we're in the batting cage and we're just doing tee and front toss, they don't wear helmets during that time. So you can work on your swing. When we're doing batting practice, mixing pitches, the helmet is on. When you're hitting off a machine, the helmet is on. So helmet's on, you're a hitter. No helmet, you can work on your swing.
Awesome. Last one real quick here before we get going. I might, and then one more after that. But in terms of that front leg and balance and launch, it's kind of going back in time now. But the idea of, are you specifically giving them instructions of how you want them to look, or are you letting the drills and the medi balls and the different sort of engine drills, just the body sort of figures itself out and understands where it needs to be? Like, can you tell us a little bit about that front leg and hip and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the idea of, constraints-based training is you give them a certain constraint that's going to kind of force them to do something correctly, but now their body gets to figure out how it works best for them. And that's where guys are so different. Like body types are different, mobility, stability, strength issues. It's all so different that I don't think, I'm not good enough to tell a guy this is exactly how you should look when you do it. I've seen a number of guys in our program where it morphs into that. I think of it this way. I think as coaches, we should think of ourselves as almost like an environmental engineer. Like we're trying to create an environment that produces good swings. So the drills that we're doing, the positions that we're putting them in, and you got to hit the ball here, that's going to produce a good swing, instead of me telling them, you got to look like this. Your front leg needs to do this. Now straighten your front leg out. Now get your front foot a little more closed. Like that stuff to me, that's like, no, let's figure out a better drill that's going to, now let's see, okay, now on the best one, when you hit that ball really good, what did you do there? What did you feel there? What did you feel your front leg do? Here, let's film it. On every single ball that you hit, that really good ball up the middle, look what you do. I'm a huge fan of doing that. Instead of picking apart weaknesses, like, okay, on your bad swing, look what you did wrong. Let's find out when you do it right, what did you do? And then try to repeat that. And because I think that, it builds confidence too. Instead of beating them up of what did you do wrong? What did you do wrong? What did you do wrong? Hey, look at that one. Remember that ball that you smoked? Let's look at what you did. Look how your hand stayed back on that one. Let's see if you can do that again.
Gotcha. Coach, anything that I missed, anything that you think, hey, I really wanted to show this today that we didn't get to, drill wise or philosophy wise, or something that you've got up your sleeve?
I think that, we saw it a little bit, that idea of that over the line, over your velo. It's a really fun one. Guys like it. And I think it's one where you're just kind of guaranteed they're going to get good work in, with you not having to police everything that they do. one other one, we didn't talk about overload, underload. And I think that's another one that I don't care what level I'd be coaching at. I'm going to get different bats in their hands because you get them a bat that's a little bit heavier. And, the traditional overload, underload is 20%. And I think that's a great place to start. So even for a kid, a high school, college, whoever you are, 20% heavier, have them hit with that. It's going to force them to use more of their body to swing that bat. But then also go underload, 20% lighter. And now they're going to be quicker, but there's a lot of barrel control that happens with that. Like, we talked earlier about, dumping the barrel or dragging the bat. Well, you hit with a heavy bat and now you go to a light bat, that barrel is going to go like this. And so you learn how to control the really light bat. That's to me is one of the best barrel control things you do is to switch back and forth between a heavy bat and a light bat. So it'll improve your bat speed, but I also think it improves barrel awareness as well.
On tee, front toss, BP, plyo balls, all of the above.
Yep, tee, front toss, that's what we use it the most with. The hard thing is finding an underload bat that you can hit a moving baseball with because you usually break them. So if you have one, I would love to do it on BP. We would do it all the time if we could. We use heavy bats a lot. Like we'll even use heavy bats like off machines, like plus fastball machines. We just take athletic, and you don't have to buy a lot of this stuff. Like a lot of our overload bats are just take athletic tape and tape it around the end of your bat and make it a little bit heavier.
Perfect. So, we got lots of hockey tape up here too. So it's just right. And always on the end of the bat, or you do it in the middle, or what's the?
Yeah. I mean, we've done other stuff. We've done the knob weighted ones before. We've done middle. I like the end because I just think that's where the game is played, is hitting the ball in the barrel and having awareness of the end of your bat. So we usually do that. And I also think it teaches them to throw the barrel too, which I think is a good thing. So I'll show real quick picture here of, you see that one? That's as simple as the overload bat right there. It's just put rolls the tape on the end of the bat, and that's our overload. But yeah, I like it on the end more than the other spots.
Got it. Just before Dirk wraps up here, what are you learning about these days? What sort of things are you doing to try to improve? It's always helpful to know, like, everyone's on here to try to get better, from you. What's your journey like? What are you trying to improve on? And what are the things you're doing in your own professional growth?
From a hitting standpoint, vision training and adjustability, pitch selection, those are all things that I want to get better at. Adjustability is the hugest one because pitching is getting so good. Approach, adjustability, pitch selection, trying to learn stuff about that. There's some stuff on gaze patterns and things like that I'm trying to look into. The other thing I'm doing, I'm going to go away from hitting a little bit, which I've been using this time during this quarantine where we can't practice with our guys, but I'm basically doing a coach's manual for our staff and just going through every single part of our program. What is our core philosophy? What is our hitting philosophy? What are our drills? What's our training philosophy? So a lot of stuff you talked about, external goals, constraints training, sports psychology, what are some key things, and putting that all together in one spot so that we can all be on the same page and make sure we're all kind of speaking the same language and saying the same things. That's kind of my all-consuming project I'm doing right now, but I've really enjoyed it. And it's one where it's like, I know it's making me better. I think it's going to make our team better. And I think if I was a high school coach, a youth coach, I don't care who you are. I heard Pete Carroll say it. That's where I got the idea to start it from. He said, if you have to be able to put your coaching philosophy down on one sheet of paper. And, so that's where I started. And then I started doing that with everything. Can I do our hitting philosophy on one page? Can I do our defensive philosophy on one page? Recruiting, the whole thing. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Got it. Awesome. Coach, it's been a pleasure. I want to thank you on behalf of Baseball Ontario of coming here and, spending time with us during quarantine 20. So it's been an honor chatting with you. Learned a lot. Thank you so much. And yeah, we really appreciate it.
No, thank you. This has been great. Like I said, I love coming up to the clinic, and I look forward to coming back in the future.
Yeah, hopefully we can get you back up here.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Coach Heefner. Another great night of insight, knowledge, lots of gems there, lots of great tips, lots of great drills from Coach Heefner, head coach at Dallas Baptist University. Hope to have Coach Heefner back at the Best Ever Coaches Clinic. We're trying to aim for January 2022 to bring him back. It's been about 4 or 5 years. Coach Heefner, again, on behalf of Baseball Ontario, on behalf of all the coaches on tonight on our Around the Horn webinar from across Canada and the United States, we thank you for taking the time out of your busy day away from your family to be with us. Just a reminder to everybody, our drill of the week comes out tomorrow on the Baseball Ontario social media platforms. It's the Best Ever Clinic drill of the week. Next week, same time, same channel, we have Perry Hill, infield coach of the Seattle Mariners, to talk infield. So please join us. Watch for the registration to open on Friday. On behalf of your host, Chris Papalia, our special guest, Coach Dan Heefner, and on behalf of Baseball Ontario, thank you for being here tonight. Stay safe and good night.
Thanks, Dirk.
Thanks, Derek.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Dan.
Thanks. That was awesome, Dan. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.